And it's a very good evening to Chewy. And it's a very good evening to our last fan favorite of the year for our last live show, Martyn Bomber Bradbury. Kia ora, sir, and welcome.
Comrades.
We put it out to the punters, if you're not aware of this, Bomber, and said, who do you want? Let's try and get a fan favorite every night of the week for the last show. And you were definitely up there. And so we asked you to come on, and you came on, and we're thankful for it. So thanks for being involved with us this year. Thanks for all the behind the scenes kind of solidarity and advice and support. It's actually been phenomenal for me, especially when we've been talking, because Chewy doesn't care. That's why I said for me especially. Yeah, it's been great. It's been great to reconnect, and it's been great to push this thing forward in our own way all together. So thank you.
It's just, I mean, it's a privilege to be on the show, gentlemen. I think that you're doing God's work. I think that the need for a fourth estate that and a critical place where thinking can be done is so important now, especially after this terrible election result, which has just brought forward such a hard right racist government who are implementing culture war revenge fantasies, not social policy, and nothing they have proposed is going to solve the enormous problems this country has. And when you look at next year and the kind of very serious geopolitical tensions that are about to erupt in areas that we trade in and we ship things through, I just think our economy is ripe for a real tumble. And I think that the solutions that the right, this hard right racist government will ram through in panic will amputate and damage communities that I live in, that you live in, that we have friends in whānau who live in. Some of our brothers and sisters are about to go through some of the most extreme bloody times of their life with the cutbacks. Yeah. And if you look at the way that they are targeting renters, workers, the environment, prisoners, beneficiaries, I mean, it's just and Māori, it's just a romper stomper of toxic, reactionary ZB talking points, but actually implemented as social policy. It's farcical.
It sure is grim, and with some of the other guests that we've had this week, I've certainly put forward that view that it's an assault. Like, even in, on election night, I was like, oh, this is going to be bad, but everything's very centrist and all of that sort of thing. I'm sure it'll come out in the wash. We'll have lots of content to talk about. It won't be that bad. And then they come out of the gates with some of the most horrific, telegram-based policy,
draconian.
Yeah, and do you know what was good though, Bomber? Right, like when we spoke to Chloe this week, and we spoke to Moana last night, and they both said a very similar thing. They said that this is going to coalesce communities.
Absolutely.
This is, where everybody thinks they're on their little Facebook island or whatever. This is going to make people reach out, find other people like them, unite, organize, march together, all of that sort of thing. And the more I've thought about that this week, I think Chloe said, if it feels overwhelming, then reach out and make a positive impact in something that you have control over.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and for me, that's this. And you can scream into
hang on. Are you the one in control of this? Do you have? Is that how it works?
God, no. Nobody wants me in control of anything. We've discussed this. I have lists. Nobody wants me in control of anything. But you've got to feel that you're moving the needle somehow, and that can be as small as going to a community group or making some positive change, or just saying, hey, look, I'm out here and I think this thing. Is there anybody else out there like me? It can be as big as organizing for a local organizer or going on a pro-Palestinian march, right up to really agitating for a candidate or that sort of thing. It's what's ever in your influence, you can change something. And that's certainly better than going, fuck, well, I can't stop the war in Ukraine and I can't stop the war in Gaza, and there's absolute demons in control of our government and it's all just too much. So
look!
yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, and that's always a reminder of just why Chloe and Moana are just such. I mean, I think Moana is one of the best public broadcasters this country has, and I believe that Chloe is just one of the future prime ministers this country would be just blessed to have. They are absolutely right. It is only through, and you're right. I think I think a lot of people voted National because they just wanted to shake they wanted some sensibleness in and thought some things were a bit wacky. But ultimately, they just voted National with the hope of getting a 10% increase in their house price. They were not buying this culture war shit. They were not buying I mean, they are embarrassed at the QAnon level nuttiness that has been implemented thanks to Winston now being the king of the conspiracy swamp kingdom, and Winston's throwing out this raw meat bloody policy to his nutty feral lunatic fringe groups who love him to death. He's throwing this chum out, and the National Party are just balking in horror. They just want to get back to making money. They didn't want any of this. So I think the shockwave of how far right it is, you're right, it will galvanize people. It will force the left to bloody work together. And those people who didn't vote, who just went, oh, screw it, I just can't, my heart's broken because it was so incremental, Labour were. My heart's broken, so incremental. They didn't vote. Oh, they're voting next year because what these guys have done in barely a month is crazier than we've seen in decades, you know?
I don't like, but the idea about, I've heard this word quite a lot, and I think Moana said it last night as well, but Chewy said it, other people said it, about the unserious nature of these political people, the unserious nature of what they're actually doing with so many holes. Even today, right? Even today when we hear about this ban on trans athletes. Now, I'm someone who thinks, there's a conversation to be had at an Olympic level. There are biologists and physiologists and allies within the community and spokespeople for the LGBT. There's a conversation to be had, but to come out and say we're going to ban trans athletes basically from any sport with public funding, from weekend sport, from social sport, and to give the stupid ass reason that it's for safety and it's for fairness. So straight away I go, okay, so that means mixed indoor netball can no longer exist. Look at the Wookiee. Because mixed indoor netball is not fair. Males have a massive advantage in that game. What about the girl who lives up in Kurau who wants to follow her hero, Richie McCaw, to be a rugby player, but all of a sudden that 9-year-old girl's only got a bunch of boys to play with. She can no longer do it. Because technically, if you're going to ban trans athletes from having fun in the weekends in their sport, amateur stuff, then you can't let the 9-year-old girl play with the boys. It comes under the same ruling. The holes are so big to drive trucks through in what they're putting through. It is unbelievably stupid. And we've used this quote that you gave us last time, Bomber, quite a lot about David Seymour. If you open up the door, whatever you break, you own. Luxon, whatever breaks with this transgender thing, you fucking own, mate. You put them in. It's on you. You own it.
Look, look. This is so cruel and needless and spiteful. Look, we may have disagreements about how the trans community and their allies have gone about demanding their rights. You may argue that the militancy and the cancel culture stuff has not helped, that the trans joy business and the Posey Parker, all of that has made this debate so radioactive and polarizing, and you may not like the tactics. Look, you can have a debate about that, and you can have a debate about biological woman only spaces and the sisters allowing the trans community, and you can have those debates, and they're debates that are worthy of having. But what we are talking about here is community level sports. We're talking one of the basic building blocks of our social cohesion. People getting out and training and interacting with each other and all playing by the same rules and the energy and the beauty and the inclusivity of sport. It's the inclusivity. Now, your local sporting guild will have worked these issues out, and there are thorny issues, let's be honest, and we want it all to be fair. But to just come in with the jackboot of the state and to kick the trans community in the face and say you don't actually exist, we're going to erase you from public sporting. I mean, this isn't New Zealand. This is beneath the mana of sport. This is beneath the mana of us as a people, and it's a bullshit virtue signal to Winston's conspiracy swamp monsters.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do. It's got nothing to do with reality, and it is such a punch in the guts that this sort of stupid shit is actually going to be made policy. You know?
Yeah.
See, I want to go back to the glory days where Foster was just a really shit mayor. And instead of someone bringing in this demon policy that is policy looking for a problem trying to solve a problem that doesn't fucking exist.
Yeah, that's it, Joey.
It's 0.14% of the population.
But even that, like I think like
bodies themselves could do. It's like,
but that's what the last government did.
right?
Yeah, the last government said give it to the sporting bodies. Those are the ones who don't. My 17-year-old, 16-year-old played netball this year, and they played in the mixed grade, and you could see that the guys were like almost dunking the ball in the netball thing. And even I kind of went, is that really? And my kids were like, yeah, it's all good. This is how we play. So they had decided that it was all good. So at a community level, if you decide that, yeah, anyone can play in this game because it's a community non-competitive sport, then the community goes, cool. And the government's going, we're ultimate nanny state. We're going to tell you what you can do in your community. Sorry, we're going to make the decision. It's ridiculous.
It's actually beyond nanny state. It's fascist state, right? We're excluding people from inclusion. We're going out of our way to say you're not actually part of the community.
Yeah,
that's erasure of an entire group of people, and I just think that is just such ugly and maliciously spiteful policy for no discernible reason.
Yeah, does nothing, absolutely nothing, other than eliminate, as you say, people from having some fun with their friends in the weekend.
Right? Who the fuck does that for shits and giggles? You know?
What I found funny, weird, stupid, all of the above. They kind of went like, oh, we're not affecting the top line sports people, you know, because those professional sporting bodies can make up their own minds. We're protecting women and girls and grassroots. And it's just like, how do you think those top line athletes got there? So they just like, oh, I'm going for a run. Oh, fuck, I've won an Ironman. Fancy that. They start at grassroots stuff. If you cut out those people, you eliminate them from sport. You eliminate them from the thing that they're passionate. Fuck that. Yeah. No.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Hey, I thought we'd also have a look at the year a bit, boys, and see what you think of the year that's gone. Were there any highlights, lowlights? What are you going to take away from 2023?
I think that Jacinda Ardern was one of the most remarkable leaders we were ever lucky to have. I think that her ability to communicate and get us through COVID was just remarkable. The problem with Jacinda was she was incremental in the domestic policy and in reforming the neoliberal economic hegemony. She just didn't have the bold enough policies to be able to take the tax yoke off the poor people and put it on the rich. She wasn't able to do that. But we saw research this year that showed us her action saved 20,000 lives. And when she stood down at the beginning of the year, because we were such a shitty people, we broke her. Labour were good and could fight the COVID battle, but we lost the COVID piece. All their rebuilding back from COVID amounted to was going back to the same incrementalism. And that was never going to be able to work. And it broke a lot of people's hearts. They were looking for transformative change. And housing and poverty and education, and we didn't get those. We got some great first steps, and we also had a once in a century pandemic novel virus to contend with. But when Chippy came in and he had the opportunity to make some significant policy with a wealth tax that would have given every New Zealander $10,000 tax-free and would have gone after the rich pricks, the really rich pricks, not just people with an extra house, like really rich pricks, when he failed to do that, when he failed to do anything more meaningful than take GST or fresh fruit and vegetable, he didn't sound like he understood the pain of working people. He didn't sound like he understood the pain of people with that first house mortgage and those rates just going up and up and up and up. And it didn't sound like he understood their hurt. And so they didn't vote. And they turned, in some cases, to crazies who promised them all sorts of nonsense. So the election ended up being a grudge fuck against Labour, and people voted for something they really didn't know. Most people couldn't actually tell you what New Zealand First policy was, or ACT policy, or national policy. It was just I hate this. And we've ended up with a government that is bound only in its enthusiasm to hurt beneficiaries, renters, workers, and the environment. And I mean, we've gone from New Zealand into Q Zealand now that New Zealand First are injecting this insanity, this pure, like Telegram. It's like you could literally pick these policies up off Telegram, right? It's that nutty.
Yeah.
And I think
I've seen them percolating.
Yeah. Right. So I think this has been a terrible year, and it is one where the left really need to step back. And what are we here for? What are we actually doing? Because if we do not have the ability and the strength to tax the mega wealthy in the areas that they function in, be it a financial transaction tax, be it a ghost tax, be it a wealth tax, be it a capital gains tax, however, just have the balls to actually go after the buggers so that we can actually increase the capacity of the state, because the left has got to argue that we want a state that helps people and builds the nation, not tears it down and punishes them. And so we need that extra money to buy, not just more doctors, we need more hospitals, not just more teachers. We need more schools. We need infrastructure that's sustainable. I mean, we've got so many challenges coming our way, and this government has produced no solutions. Remember all the stuff that they have rammed through under urgency and repealed. They've got nothing to replace it with. So everything that we've just wiped of the last 6 years, they haven't replaced it with any policy. So we're going right back to 2017 and the same bloody problems. And for the 600,000 who are reliant on food banks every month, the 27,000 on social housing waitlists, the 300,000 in electricity poverty, for those people, time's running out. So I think there's going to be an enormous amount of bloody suffering next year, and it's going to be a real kick in the ass to a lot of us about having to bloody bond together and work together, because this government has to be resisted at all costs and on all fronts.
I can pinpoint the start of this terrible timeline that we're on, right? And I know you're glowing about Jacinda, and that's fair, but a little bit of a reality check. She did ask, and this is the most egregious thing any New Zealander's ever done to this country. She did ask people to be kind to each other. And really, that was the start of the rot. That was the start of the rot. That was too far. If I want to be a cunt to someone in a supermarket line, I should be able to. I want to park at a disabled car park. I want to burn my rubbish in a children's playground. How dare she? So I've started forming my own local brown shirts organization, and we're going to go from there. Follow me on Telegram. Peace out. As far as Chippy goes, I kind of see what he was trying to do, right? He saw everything that was directed at Jacinda. And I think very tactically he went, I am not Jacinda. And short of putting his penis on the desk to show everybody, he definitely went out and
his sausage roll. Is that what you mean? His sausage roll on the desk? I'm going to do my own policy. I'm not just Jacinda in slacks.
Yep.
But also there was an element of just everybody hold fast. Just don't do anything to tip the boat over.
Yeah.
Okay? Is everybody's investments in order? Please tell me. Don't. Can we just no mental health anything, just freeze. Everybody knows that the electorate's vision is based on movement. Just he didn't go and sing. He didn't go and sing the government's praises. He didn't give anybody a vision of where we go from here. He might have had some idea of how the economic space was going to improve and that sort of thing. But what he couldn't communicate that out. He couldn't beat national bumper sticker policies that are just like, whack it on the electorate's forehead. Don't ask them to peel it off and look what's on the back of it. That was enough. Tax cuts.
Yeah.
But shit's expensive. We're going to give you some money back. That's stuck. And then nobody looked at. Why would anybody look at New Zealand First policies? They weren't going to be there. Nobody expected that. Everybody went, nah, we're not dealing with Winston. We've all done that. It's bullshit. And then Luxon went, I'll just check my poll results before I answer that. And that was the crack that decrepit old skeleton needed to fucking come back. And that's what he's got. You had 8 months of him going coalition of chaos, and then we go, this is what you're talking about, you fucking shambles. He is bad at this.
Let me share something with you. You're talking about Winston Peters and that. I've got a favorite clip that I made from the year, and I made it today or yesterday, and I want to share it with you guys. Okay, this is a conversation me and Chewy had the other night, and I'm going to play it in 2 parts. We don't need to play the whole thing, but this is when we started talking and thinking about who Winston Peters is. Chewy, I've edited it slightly. See if you can see the edit.
What I say to that is that we're committed to reducing the smoking rates and remain committed to doing that.
Do you know anything about the Ngāti Wai? You know who started the Ngāti Wai organisation? Who set up the Ngāti Wai Land Retention Committee in 1974?
Oh my God. What? He is fucking impossible. Talk about bloviating. He sounds like that fucking teacher of Charlie Brown. Remember the teacher in Charlie Brown? The kids would be talking and then the teacher would went.
Yes, ma'am. We were playing hangman.
It's just ridiculous. Either answer a question or fuck off. So that's the first part of it. But this is my thought, Chewy. This is what I think we'll do from now on. See if you can pick up the subtle edit here.
Not when the ambition is still to drive down smoking rates.
The ambition is to drive down smoking rates. That's like saying, I have an ambition to drive from Dunedin to Christchurch next week. Why have you taken the engine out of your car? Well, no, it's okay, because I have an ambition to drive from Dunedin to Christchurch, but your car has no engine. Yeah, but I have an ambition to drive from Dunedin to Christchurch. In that car, the one with no engine, doesn't matter. I have an ambition to drive. That's how ridiculous it is, Chewy.
Yeah.
Reti is one of 2 doctors in National's midst.
Here we go. Did you pick the subtle edit? Did you pick the subtle? It's pretty subtle.
Barely perceptible.
Yeah.
I think that might be what we do with Winston from now on, maybe.
It's what the mainstream media need to do with him. It's just that or walk away. Like, I can translate that for you. I think he's blaming the Chinese somehow. Probably. Who knows? Historically, it's probably true.
I think what we need to take away from Winston's success is just how polarized New Zealand politics has become. Because he's talking to a group of New Zealanders who have completely checked out, who have felt alienated culturally in their own country, and it's made them very angry and reactionary, and they're frightened, and they're looking to him, and he's their champion. And a lot of these people are getting their news from social media feeds, and a lot of these people aren't realizing that the algorithms are suppressing actual news journalism. They won't see Winston being interviewed by journalists. They'll see him on the platform. They'll see him on Reality Check Radio. And so the social media algorithms are feeding this polarized group of New Zealanders this mishmash of nonsense and QAnon conspiracy, and they're buying into it. They are lonely, and they're very resentful and spiteful. And this is a problem that we're going to see. And I think that what Winston will do is he'll actually gain more. Look, he'll go up with these numbers. Where the damage will be done is in the national voters just going, centrist national voters just going, oh, this is too crazy. I'm going back to Labour because this is nuts town. So that's the danger for the right. But for right now, he is speaking to his own people, his own electorate, and they're being served up algorithms of bloody ignorance. And this is a real problem for the entire democratic process in this country. If people don't believe in a fourth estate any longer and they're just following each other's mad rantings, we are in trouble. And it's going to be a space that the left are going to have to contest.
It's also, I think, going to be worse next year because we've got the American election coming up, and the American election and Donald Trump is where all of this don't trust the press has kind of come from. And that's going to be amplified in an extraordinary way next year. And I actually think it'll flow on to the Winston supporters of this world because they'll be seeing it in their algorithms from America, and they'll be going, oh, let's do that here as well. Before we move to the next thing, I just wanted to say thanks, JC, for the super chat, but it's kind of to all three of us, but I wanted to share it. JC says, Kia ora, comrades. You three play a crucial role in the pushback against the clowns. Thanks. You are right, Bomber. The left is coalescing. We will come back strong. In the meantime, we need y'all to keep up your legendary work. So that's from JC. I wanted to get that up there while you were still here, Bomber, because it's to you as well. So yeah, I think next year is going to be worse before it gets better.
Oh yeah, oh Lord, I think you've hit the exact issue. It is all around Trump, and because he is such a dangerously unhinged individual, and if you look at what he's planning to do with illegal residents, immigrants in America, the plans that got leaked for mass detention camps, a paramilitarization of ICE. It's the most fearful parts of a fascist state. And if you look at the language he's now using, he refers to his enemies as vermin who are poisoning the blood. These are the same lines that Hitler was using in Mein Kampf. If you look, it's not just a tragedy for America, but it will be a tragedy globally. Putin, I think we had all hoped that Putin, the great chess master, had blundered into a war in the Ukraine, and it's been a suffering and losing ever since. I don't think so. I think that Putin looked down the pantheon of great Russian leaders and he asked himself, how have I left great mother Russia? Is it stronger or is it weaker? And I don't think we've understood in the West that Putin's own deep Orthodox Christian beliefs and religion are actually quite cemented into him as a person. He sees himself as the true defender of the Christian faith. And so the attack and the push of his military into the Ukraine, I think he's done it on purpose. And I think he's done it specifically because Russia only becomes number one again in a world of chaos. If he stays under the orders-based rule system, it was always going to be American hegemony. So he's playing for greatness now. He sees the 200, 300,000 that have been killed as a good start, right? When he looks at the millions that were lost by other Russian leaders, he's just getting started. And I think that it has absolutely been in his benefit to ensure that intelligence got to Hamas to help plot what happened on October the 7th, because the sudden explosion of violence there has taken all of the resources out of the Ukraine. Early next year, Zelensky will finally get all of the next generation heavy weaponry, the jets, the armored tanks and everything. And I think he's going to be left with them and told, you either do something quick with this in the new year or we are out of this altogether. Because the moment, if Trump gets reelected, all it's going to be is Trump calling Putin to say, hey, can we just call an end to this? And Putin going, okay, fine, I'll take what I've got. And so there'll be an intense pressure for ultra violence in the Ukraine. There'll be an intense attempt to try and ratchet up things in the Middle East. If you look at the Americans in the last 48 hours putting together a naval alliance against the Houthi, who have threatened shipping. I mean, this is one of the problems for our economy. We're such a trade-based economy, but many of the trade routes are under threat. Look at what's happening between China and the Philippines right now. So everyone who's got skin in the game is going to try something on before Trump gets elected. Because once Trump gets elected, no one knows what the rules are, right? Yeah. So you do everything you can to get everything you get, And so I think war, I think climate change next year. If you look at some of the global temperatures we had this year, they were 6 sigma outside normal standard deviation. We don't know what that looks like. We're in a completely unplanned area there. And I think refugees from that climate change around the world is going to make a growing problem.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to wrap up in a bit, but Chewie, do you want to pick up off that back of that first? And then if we've got time, you want to talk to 2024, anything to look forward to, anything to wrap the year with today, leave the people watching with? Chewie, Marty, you guys can jump in whenever you want.
Anything less grim than that. Merry Christmas, season greetings, everyone. The world's going to hell.
Explode. Yeah.
No, you just ripped the lid on me talking about Ukraine and Gaza. I think we'll fucking park that one for now. Look, right from the start of, like I said when Gaza kicked off, is that we would look back on just the traditional straight lines of a really clear good versus evil fight. It's really easy to pick who we're backing here. The people defending their own country against a massive, much bigger, much tougher country doing fucking war crimes wherever it can. Very easy to pick a side there. Spent all of a nanosecond doing it and just following it from there. And then the next thing is, let's draw focus. Let's draw the news cycle away from that because the offensive is not going very well.
Yeah.
And here's your shit fight. A bunch of absolute murderous bastard terrorists doing monstrous fucking things out of nowhere, or seemingly nowhere. And so the good guy in this, they're the ones bombing hospitals and driving bulldozers over wounded civilians. Once again, very clear cut, very easy to follow. Obviously, your choices of news on this is propaganda or nothing at all. So it's super good. And Putin must be going, well, thank fuck for that. People have stopped focusing on the list of how many tanks we're pulling out of cold storage.
Yeah.
And whether the tanks are older than the people that are driving them. And the answer is not always.
But Chewie, you forget.
But cheerleading America, going, this is fantastic. This
for
funneled
Ukraine.
So much support to Ukraine. Fantastic. Surely on this one, they'll go the right way. And they parked 2 aircraft carrier battle groups off it. They could have stopped everything, and then they just went, so we're here, we're not going to do anything. Fantastic. They didn't even do the honorable thing of like, well, since we've sailed our carrier battle groups into this part of the Mediterranean, we're just going to blitz them up into the Black Sea and make it really awkward for people. They just did nothing. Absolutely nothing.
But at least people who feel like they're born in the wrong body can't play social tennis anymore. We do have that.
That's fucking solved.
Thanks
so
God
for that.
Good on the team. Hey, Bomber, you've been a real support this year, mate. Thank you so much for being a part of what we've done. And,
BHN is such an important valve in the New Zealand media psyche, and you guys have had such an incredible year. You've given such insight and oversight to what's going on in New Zealand politics. All power to you. It's great to see you in the podcast charts doing so bloody well with BHN. And I call out to New Zealand on air. If there is media that is worthy sponsoring, who are actually doing the hard yards of journalism and allowing a space where ideas can be challenged and thought through and critiqued, it is BHN. For the love, if there is a God, someone give these guys money.
Look, sorry, Pat, just one last thing.
Right.
As someone that used to listen religiously to late night talkback on Channel Z, I just want to say I love having you involved.
It's a privilege and a pleasure, gentlemen.
Dude, enjoy the merch. Hopefully you've got your I did.
I'm gonna wear it on my first show next year with Luxon. Yeah.
Nice. Very good. Oh, perfect. Perfect.
I look forward to watching Damien Grant explode.
Have an awesome Christmas, man. You're a good friend.
Too, guys. Have a great
we'll
Christmas.
Talk to you in 2024.
All the whānau. Be well.